Welcome to the Bob Priest Show of Life podcast. I'm your host, Bob Priest. Thanks for tuning in today's show. This podcast is dedicated to individuals and professionals who desire to learn more about the subject of health and wellness, as well as alternative technologies to better health and vitality. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Bob Priest Show of Life podcast. I'm your host, Bob Priest. Today my guest is Donna Nelson. Welcome, Donna.
Oh, thank you for having me, Bob.
So Donna describes herself as a warrior mom. When her beautiful daughter, who has an enormous joie de vie, did I say that right?
Joie de vie.
Joie de vie, which means joy of living, one day could not walk. Donna set out on a mission to find out what was going on in her body and what could be done about it. Donna studied functional nutrition and found what she was looking for. At age 60 years young, Donna was certified as a functional nutrition coach and lifestyle practitioner, joining an elite group of practitioners whose mission is to educate how to become the practitioner you're looking for using food, sleep, and lifestyle to conquer chronic pain and disease. Wow, Donna, that sounds exciting. I'm looking forward to having our conversation today. And again, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here and excited about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, tell my audience where you're from real quick.
I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is on the west coast of Canada.
I bet it's pretty up there.
It's very pretty. From where I live, I can see the mountains on one side and, the ocean is on the other side. And it's a pretty place to be.
Boy, that's nice to be able to see both of those two things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like them both. I just can't, I live in the mountains, so that's all I see. So Donna, this was an intriguing story you shared with me the other day. And I'm sorry that your daughter's gone through this. I have a daughter that's going through autoimmune disease issues. And so that's been a challenge there. And I realized with her that food had a lot to do with helping her become better and work her way out of that problem. So Donna, tell us more about your story and why you chose at age 60 to enter into functional medicine.
Well, the story does revolve around my daughter. This was about 8 years ago, and we were working together in a business. My son and daughter and I had a bakery, and it was kind of a dream that we had to be working together in this business. And after we'd been working for several years, and it was hard, it was tough on all of us, but after we'd been working for several years, we noticed a big change in my daughter. And it started actually with shortness of temper. She was exhausted. And then eventually, and not too much time had passed before she couldn't walk anymore. And this was due to inflammation in her toes, heels, knees. She also had it in her hands, and she was a premier cake decorator in the city where we live for many years, and she couldn't do it anymore because of the swelling in her hands. And so the first, obviously, thing that she did was go to our general practitioner, and he referred her right away to a rheumatologist. And what they decided was that, and they took a little bit of history, and they decided because her brother has psoriasis, that the disease that she had was psoriatic arthritis. And you probably know that this is an autoimmune disease. And so she came away from the visit a little puzzled. I don't have psoriasis, my brother does. Why do you then assume that I have psoriatic arthritis? So this is a method of diagnosis that practitioners use because they consider genetics very complicit in why people get sick. And so we're mulling this whole thing over. He tells her that how he treats rheumatoid type diseases is with a low dose of methotrexate. And this is, of course, chemotherapy. So what that is used for is to stop the autoimmune system from fighting. Because in autoimmune disease, your autoimmune system is fighting your own body. So stop the fighting, and that will control the symptoms. It doesn't do anything to help you with your disease other than control the symptoms. So that didn't make sense to any of us. And thus the search for something to figure out what led to this. Because we didn't understand the whole connection with psoriasis in another family member. And so the hunt was on. And eventually sorry, go ahead.
I was going to just say, because you mentioned that they put her on this drug that was really earmarked for something different. And I, in my studies and in my own personal life and with many people I've had on my podcast, it always seems to go back to the drug therapy that's being done, and that it only masks the problem. It doesn't really get to the root issue.
Certainly.
And it sounds like that's exactly what was happening initially with your daughter. She was given this for something else that she didn't have. Did that one drug cause other issues to come up? Did it mask so many things that it didn't really do anything for her, or
it didn't do anything for her, and it
didn't
also
do anything?
it also caused other symptoms to happen in her body, and she did not stay with it because she knew that this wasn't the path she wanted to follow, and it did not make sense. You've heard that expression, inquiring minds want to know. Well, that's where we were. We're just like, what is going on in there? What happened to our daughter? And she was so frustrated because she couldn't do any of the things that she wanted to do. We were coming into snowboard season. There's no way she could go up on the hill because she was concerned, well, what if I fall and break a leg? Because I don't have the strength that it takes. It was really a horrible time.
Now, what was her age at this time?
She was 32.
So a very young woman.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Way too young to be finding herself in a position where she basically didn't leave the house because she was so tired. She wasn't able to sleep. The pain basically went from head to toe. She was propping herself up in bed with pillows just to try and ease the pain. Like it just was horrible. But the worst thing was that she couldn't walk, and eventually the swelling, like in autoimmune diseases, things come and go. So they might show up in one place for a while, then they'll show up somewhere else, recede in the original place. And so this constant movement of the pain and swelling was so distracting for her. She couldn't count on anything. They didn't plan anything because she didn't know how she was going to feel that day. So she couldn't work anymore. My son and I said, you have to stay home and look after yourself. You can't come to work anymore.
Very debilitating. That's a terrible place to be at that age. Any age, for that matter.
Yeah. So if I may, the turning point was I did read a lot of books, and I found a book by Susan Bloom, and she's a doctor. She has a clinic up in, you know who I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, she has a clinic up in New York where she treats people with autoimmune diseases. And that book really shined a light on what could be going on in there. And so this is a year later now, and we were taking our family to Maui for a vacation, and she was saying no, she couldn't come because she just didn't feel well. But then after we all left, she felt bad being left behind. So we arranged for her to come. But unbeknownst to us, the day before she was supposed to leave, she ended up in the hospital. And the reason why was because her right ankle swelled up to about this size, and it was black. And when she went to the emergency, the doctor said, "Tell me what's going on here." And she said, "Well, I've been diagnosed with autoimmune psoriatic arthritis." And he said, "Well, show me your psoriasis." And she said, "I don't have it." And so he just kind of looked at her like, you know. So he was concerned about the ankle because it looked to him like some kind of a bacteria had set in. So he took a sample of it and he put her on intravenous antibiotics for 24 hours. And he told her, "You can go to Maui, but you cannot go on the beach." Because he said, if you twist your ankle, you know, you could end up in dire straits down there. So she wanted to come, but we didn't know this happened. I went to pick her up at the airport and she was in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And I was just like, what happened to you? We got her into our hotel and we started her right away on what I could put together from what I'd read from Susan Bloom's book, a diet that she believes helps inflammatory diseases. And I kid you not, within 4 days of following to the letter this program, the swelling receded enough so that she didn't need help walking anymore.
Wow.
So that was a big, okay, the light went on in our heads and it's just like, all right, diet is the answer.
Can you give us a couple of examples of what you did? What kind of diet, what kind of foods?
Sure, yeah. So first of all, we made sure that there was no refined sugar of any kind. And we went a little bit further. We also, like, we didn't use honey or maple syrup or anything like that either. The next thing we did was remove anything that contained gluten, because we know that gluten is an inflammatory, and we were trying to remove all of the things that might cause inflammation. And so sugar, gluten, and dairy were the things that we removed. And what we made sure she had every day was whole foods. So everything that she ate, we prepared ourselves. And that included, you know, the fruit that grows there. She ate eggs, which is something that she can handle. For lunches and dinners, we had a lot of good greens and nice proteins. And then also, I don't know if you've been to Maui, but they have avocados that are this big.
Oh
So
goodness.
every day she had some of the good fats too. And you know, we were following not only what we learned, but instinct too, about what we thought she should be eating, and her too. I mean, she was in total agreement with it. And it turned out that this style of eating fat, fiber, and protein basically is the nucleus of what I teach people now. So bringing that into today, helping people understand that you need to get the inflammatories out of your system to see what's left after those inflammatories have been removed, what symptoms remain. And long story short, it's 6 years later from that date, and she does whatever she wants now. She is, you know, rollerblading, she's running, she's doing everything, and she has her life back. And this is like, I don't know how else to say. It's not a miracle because it took work, but in your mind, it's like after you see somebody at that point where they can't even walk, and now where she's controlling her symptoms with good nutrition, good sleep, and balancing blood sugar, she's a different person. She's her old self again.
That's really awesome to hear, Donna.
Yeah.
You know, I started learning over the years too that what we put into our gut is either going to help us or it's going to hurt us. And sometimes the things we eat are really eating us. But you know, it's interesting to find that just letting our body become the healer and using what God gave our bodies, which was the ability to heal itself if we feed it the right fuel.
Mhm.
And it's awesome to hear that you found this system for her, but now you've turned that around and you're starting to help other people. That is a tremendous turnaround, and I'm glad to hear your daughter is doing so much better.
Oh, thank you
Um,
so much.
and we'll talk more about her in a few minutes. But now that you've helped your daughter to get on a certain track, and then you went back to school and you
Mhm.
became a functional nutritionist. Tell us a little bit more about what that is.
Um, well, let me see. Where can I begin? Basically, um, what our practice is about is dismantling dysfunction, and you do that through a very in-depth history of the individual. And this is this is very different from allopathic care, because we know that our physicians, while they have been trained to do a specific job, and we're grateful that they don't have the time in their practice to delve deep into a person's history. And I'm talking back to the time when they were, carried by their mother, the health of the mother, then the pregnancy and everything that happened up until the time that they're standing before us. All of that is important to why this person is feeling the way that they are today.
Mhm.
So this is different from allopathic medicine. We do a very deep history, and then we take all the information that comes from that history and create what's called a timeline. And when you have all that in front of you, everything that happened in this individual's life, and I'm not just talking about health, I'm talking about like um, psychological things that might be affecting them from things that happened in their family, not necessarily directly in their body. All of these things create who we are today. So we create this timeline, and from the timeline, we create what's called a functional matrix. And that is really the nexus of what our whole practice is about. Because once we have all of that information in front of us, it's kind of like what a physician uses in terms of all of the blood tests and whatever that they will send you for. But the difference is that only gives you a picture of that moment in time, because your blood changes all the time. So the blood test gives you a picture of that moment. The in-depth history is that entire person. And that's how we root out the causes of why that individual is feeling the way that they are today. And basically, we start with non-negotiables, and that's clearing the muddy waters of any inflammatories in their diet. And then the second thing we do is what we call bringing deficiencies to sufficiency. And so that's uncovering and addressing the deficiencies in that individual's body. And it is an individual. There's no protocols here.
Right.
Every person gets treated for the person that they are. And then we use nutrition tracking tools like the functional nutrition matrix, bring to light where that client is missing key nutrients in their diet. And then once we have that information, that can be addressed through lifestyle, dietary, and possibly even supplements. But as a coach, we're not just saying do this, do that. We're teaching our clients, like I said in my bio, how to become the practitioner that they've been looking for, because we're giving them the tools to be their own best practitioner. And that's our practice.
Wow, I like that. It's I think too many times we've taken it upon ourselves to not really listen to our bodies and pay attention to the kinds of foods that we ingest, and then how do we feel after that. We just eat, and a lot of times we just eat to feel good, because we'll eat this food or a half a gallon of ice cream because we're just in a bad place right now. We're depressed or whatever. But then how do you feel after that? And after having my stroke several years ago, I went through a lot of transition and looking for different ways to get myself back into a different health. I thought I was in fairly decent health as a runner and a cyclist at the time I had it, but obviously something was going wrong. So, but one thing I started paying really close attention to was when I would eat certain foods, whatever it was, it didn't matter. I then paid attention to how I felt afterwards. Did I feel sluggish? Did I have energy? Did it digest well, or did I have bloating or whatever? And that's when I started realizing, when you were talking about refined sugars and gluten and dairy and stuff, gluten doesn't seem to bother me, but it does other people in my family. And but then refined sugar, it's been a no-no because it's in everything. So it's a nurse friend of mine said that sugar is like snorting cocaine. It's that addictive, and it hurts you that bad. So it's really interesting. And for our listeners, I think this is an important area for us to get out on the airways, is that what we are taking in our bodies really does affect our body. And if we'll pay attention to it and use a coach like yourself to help get things on track by going through that history and finding out some other things that create problems within our life, whether it's lifestyle, our past life and family and the way we grew up, environment, et cetera, that we can really find a way to have a very healthy and fulfilling life. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And just to go further, I really like what you said, because I don't know if you arrived at that place yourself where you started looking at the food that you were eating and figuring out, okay, this makes me feel this way, this makes me feel that way. But part of what we do is have people track what they're eating, and it's called a food, mood, poop journal. So you eat the food, how does it make you feel? And then what comes out of your body after you've eaten it, and how soon after, what's the transit time? And it's amazing, but I think that you can relate to what I'm going to say here, that taking all those things into consideration, okay, I ate ice cream. Oh, my stomach doesn't feel very good. Oh, now I have diarrhea. All those things are telling you something. They're telling you that the food you ate probably isn't good for you, and that it doesn't make you feel good, and that it moves through your system way too fast, because your system is designed to function a certain way. And this, when we talk about functional medicine and functional nutrition, the in-depth study that we do head to toe of the body and its every systems and how they function together would blow your mind. Like, I could talk about it for days, to be honest with you, because everything matters. Everything in your body is connected, and each person is unique. So that's why we don't use protocols. It's why we take each individual and look at them as an individual. There's no, okay, well, you have these symptoms, this is what you have to do. No, that's not what we do, because everybody arrived at the place that they are, even if they have the same symptoms as somebody else. They arrived there with their own set of circumstances. Right. So that's what we have to root out and uncover, and then help them bring function back to dysfunction. And it's like, when you see it happening in front of you, I just can't even tell you how rewarding it is. It's exciting. And it's why, even though I started this whole journey to help my family, once I knew everything, I'm like, okay, I can't keep this to myself. There's right. Too many people who need help. So, and just recently, one of the people that I was helping, being looked at, it's an elderly man, being looked after by his physician, who's a very nice man, a very good doctor. But he doesn't have the time to figure out, okay, what's going on in there right now, because he's a type 2 diabetic, but he's insulin dependent. And because he's in his 80s, he has taken a dislike to certain foods. So he himself cut out all meat and all grains, and for different reasons. Mostly because he was afraid that he was going to choke if he chewed it and it went down wrong. So all of those things went out of his diet. And then they started noticing, little things like, first of all, his muscles began to atrophy. And then his memory kept going in and out. And in modern medicine, that's old age. But I was able to just take a deeper dive, look and see, well, if he's taken all of these things out of his diet, then he's missing key nutrients. And so we have to look out for ways to replace them for him. And so what we got him started on was an amino acid profile, which changed his problems with his muscles immediately. Like within days, he got stronger. And he went from not being able to even walk with a walker to walking on his own again. And then the other thing it did was we put him on B vitamins, a good complex, because taking those key elements out of your diet is going to make you vitamin B deficient. So now he's able to reason on things again, and he's much more communicative. So his doctor couldn't help him with that. I even had a conversation with him and said, okay, well, how many calories a day should an elderly person be eating? And he just said, I would have to look that up. I don't know. And I said, and how much protein should he be eating? I don't know. And so I said to him, do you think 1,500 calories is a good target? Yeah, that sounds good. And I said, and how about protein? Should we go for like 20 grams of protein per meal? That sounds good. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is there has been a gap created between the patient and the physician. And it's not the physician's fault. They've been trained to diagnose and treat. And if you have a chronic disease, that doesn't work for you.
Right.
Because it's not that easy to just diagnose and treat. You need someone like what I'm doing to root out what's happening in there. And again, I'll emphasize it again, take the dysfunction and make it functional. And it's been demonstrated over and over again in my practice that it definitely works. And it also allows the physician to do his job better, because now he has somebody whose health is improving, and they can get back to the things that they can help the individual with. Right. So it's a very good partnership.
And that brings us to this thought process, because number one, I love that explanation. Thank you, Don. I think that was a great way to really break up for our audience why what you do is so important. Mm-hmm. Not that our medical profession, Western medicine, isn't important. It is. It is. But I have noticed over the years, especially from my earlier years to now, that the time that my physician spends with me over any issue when I go in is minimal at best. Mm-hmm. And their calendar is so stacked that if they get 5 minutes behind, then it's messed everybody up for the rest of the day. And but when I had my stroke, I had a physician that he was already moving into and or already doing a lot of functional medicine within his own practice. And that created some problems for him because, for example, he would spend as much time as 45 minutes to an hour on my appointment. And he blocked in at least the time he was allowed to, but he always, for me, would even go more as he got to know me more and more and things I was dealing with. He would block it out, but then he started getting in trouble with the group he was with. Mm-hmm. And eventually, unfortunate for me, but fortunate for him, he moved into a practice in another state that allowed him to practice the way he felt he needed to practice. Mm-hmm. But during the time I had him, he he did a lot of the things that you're talking about. He spent more time asking questions and less time throwing pills at me. And it taught me how to start looking to take care of myself. And
Awesome.
over a period of time, the things that I started off having problems with have then mitigated down to basically minimal medications and so on. But it was a challenge. It was not a challenge, but it was a time of and period that I had to go through the learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about what you do and folks that are in your space is you do that. You spend a lot of quality time asking a lot of questions that's beyond the blood work, beyond the protocols. Well, if you say you have this, then this pill is what I'm going to throw at you. That might be a short-term fix, but it's not a long-term fix. And so to our audience, I've experienced some of this in my own, where I've gone to these alternative practitioners, whether it's an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, or Donna as a functional nutritionist, and they all bring such a unique and different vision to us as a person. And we are a person. We're not the individual that is going by the protocol that they do for everybody. We're the individual, they're going by us only. And they look at us totally as who we are, right where we are, and our history. So Donna, I commend you on that. And I'm so encouraged to hear not only the story of what got you there,
Mm-hmm.
but also how you're using that story to move you into a space that now you're helping so many other people. So bravo to you for that.
Thank you.
I encourage our audience to search out these practitioners, and Donna will tell us how to reach her here in a few minutes. Reach out to Donna if you're having some issues that you feel like maybe need more time, energy, and effort put into you rather than protocols that typically are given out to everybody in the medical world. You mentioned briefly about this gentleman that had this issue, and after meeting with you, you really helped him. But what do you think some of your biggest successes outside of your daughter? Because obviously that was a big one. But
Mm-hmm.
what are some of your biggest successes with either clients or people that you're either working with now or have worked with that'll be encouraging to us as a listener to you?
I think one that I'm working with right now, but have been over the past several years, and it took a long time for this individual to trust that there was going to be some relief for them. A person who has type 2 diabetes and is young and just doesn't believe that diet and exercise maybe is what's going to take him to a place where he possibly could get off of his medication. But over the last 2 years, with just working with him and talking to him about blood sugar and how you can affect a change in it yourself, it's not, I mean, now there's medication involved, but at some point there is light at the end of the tunnel that there won't be medication, and how he's going to ultimately change the outlook in his life, because we know that type 2 diabetes is basically the first step towards heart disease and other things that are going to be much more difficult to treat as they start to rear their ugly head. And being able to explain what happens when you consume too big of a meal with carbohydrates, and what's happening with your insulin and your blood glucose when that happens, and where does the excess glucose get stored? Well, it becomes glycogen, but your body can't use it. So where is it then? Well, now it's stored as visceral fat. So you've created another problem just because, and I'll tell you, it's lifestyle. Because if you didn't eat breakfast and you didn't eat lunch and you're ravenous at dinner, it's not a good idea to eat 3,000 calories at one meal because your body is not designed to deal with that much food.
Yeah.
And
It spikes
unfortunately,
up.
oh yeah. And then too much insulin in your body raises your cortisol levels. And so this individual is starting to put all of the pieces together. If I don't eat small meals with fat, fiber, and protein at each meal, and this is something that I would really like your listeners to pay attention to, because all blood sugar issues need to be addressed with eating fat, fiber, and protein. And so connecting the dots in his head, you know, it's taken a long time, but now realizes smaller meals, fat, fiber, and protein, looking after sleep, because if you ignore your circadian rhythm and stay up until 1 a.m. instead of going to bed by 10 and playing with your phone all night, you're not going to have a good sleep. The cortisol levels are going to stay high, and you're just repeating a negative, I don't know how to describe it, but you're creating a disaster in your body every day by not changing your habits. So
Yeah.
his habits are changing. He's seeing improvement. He is sleeping better. He realizes that he doesn't need to eat such large amounts of food, that he can be sustained and feel better if he eats a combination of the fat, fiber, and protein. So I feel elated that the light has finally gone on, and this individual is going to be able to help themselves because of what they're learning.
That's awesome. I was thinking while you were saying that, and when you mentioned the three things, and I call that the magic plate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, it's the quantity, but it's also the quality and the type of food you're eating. And when I made some of those changes in my life, and I also ate to, you know, 80% full, not 99 or 100 or 110% full, and I ate basically at the same time every day or around that same time frame, and I never eat after 7 o'clock p.m.
Mm-hmm.
so that my body has time to go through its process. And then the last step that you mentioned, the sleep, that is extremely important. And I'm finding this out in my own body. And what got me there, Donna, was somebody like you shared some things with me
Mm-hmm.
that got me to thinking. And then I went to school myself, because I'm doing a health coaching program and learning about the nutrition side of things, and also
Mm-hmm.
going to use it with also a life coaching. So I too am looking to do that because of something that happened to me that
Mm-hmm.
I want to share with people like you're doing. And that's why I'm so drawn to functional nutrition and people that are in these alternative spaces. I know we had a conversation about books and articles and all that. I think you're definitely on the verge of writing something. I think it should be named Food, Mood, and Poop.
That's a really good name,
That
because
would that would that would really get some attention.
yeah, absolutely. And you know, when you're talking about nutrition and health, unfortunately, even though nobody wants to say the word, you have to talk about poop too. So
Yeah. Well,
it's a huge indicator.
what goes in's got to come out somewhere.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. But it tells you so much more information actually. So
it really
yeah.
does. And
Yeah.
you know, and I know that's another indicator for me when I don't eat the right stuff. That last piece doesn't seem to work quite as well.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. We're sitting online talking about poop, but it is an important part of it. You
Sure is.
know, I'm really interested. Go back just a little bit and let's talk. How's your daughter doing today?
Fantastic. You know, she like you probably know this, but you can't cure autoimmune disease. But definitely with the right habits and food, and you know, like sleep is very, very important. You can manage your symptoms to a point where you are symptomless. So you're always going to have that in your system, but looking after yourself can make it so that you are symptomless. And that's where she is right now. And so she's back to her life
That's
the way
awesome.
she used to live it. Yeah.
So being very disciplined once you learn what it is you should and shouldn't eat and put in your body, and being very disciplined with that and our sleep patterns and keeping ourselves and our lifestyle in balance.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big part of all of this, isn't it?
This is what I always tell people. To you, you are the most important person. So prioritize your health. And that's really hard for women because we always are looking after other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I had to learn for myself too. I had to prioritize my health, what was going into my body, prioritize my exercise and my sleep, because I have all these other people that I have to look after. So I need to be healthy for a very long time.
Right.
And I have to look after myself, and that's my patients, or I call them my clients, but you're the most important person to you. And so, and you know, it's a process. It's not like once I tell you something, you know, you should remember it and you should keep doing it. And that's the function of a coach, right?
Right.
We're here so that if you know, have a bad day or fall down, or if you're having a great day, that we can celebrate with you, or we can coach you so that, you know, if you don't eat sugar for 2 weeks, you're not cured. And so you don't go on a donut binge then, because then you end up worse than you were. So actually, that's something that my daughter had to learn, because she is a baker and she loves to bake sweets. So she had to learn that at some point, it's not okay to eat sugar for her. It's very bad for her. And
Can't sample the
people,
goods.
no, you can't. And for other people, it might be something else, but for her, sugar is the big problem. So she finally realized, no, I can't have that. But there's other things that she can make that she can enjoy that don't have refined sugar. So it's not like, it's always, you know, a game of, okay, take this out, but what can we bring in so that you're still feeling, you know, that you get to have things that you enjoy. And yeah, and that's part of coaching.
That's awesome, Donna. And I hope our folks really hear that coaching, whether, you know, whether it was a baseball coach or a football coach or a band coach, because that's what I was, a band director, or a nutritional coach, it's important to have somebody like that in your life that can help you see things you can't see, and then encourage you to move in new directions, and then to be there to help you, pat you on the butt when you need to be given a swift kick, or pat you on the butt saying that, hey, great, that was awesome, you did it right. So I really want to encourage our audience to really look into the possibility of a lifestyle coach or a health coach or a functional nutrition coach. You know, go to your acupuncturist or to your chiropractor, because they do make a difference, because I've been to all of those. And they've made a huge difference in my life. And I'm very thankful that these alternatives are out there. As always, I ask my guests to leave our listeners a couple pieces of value and encouragement. So what are a few things that you could leave with our audience today that you would like to encourage them to think about or to look into that might be good for them?
Well, first of all, with regards to health, your blood sugar balance is key, because our body functions using hormones. So that's your sex hormones, your insulin, your cortisol. All of these things need to work synergistically so that you can function and feel well. And blood sugar balance is the key to all of that. So if you can manage your blood sugar using the fat, fiber, protein meal building plan, then you can really change how you feel and change your physical outcome. Because You can either avoid becoming diabetic or improve your outlook with it. You can avoid heart disease or improve your outlook with it. So that is first and foremost. I think also that we have to remember that hydration is very important, especially as we age. I find that a lot of people, they don't want to drink because then they're going to have to go pee. Well, that's just part of life. But if you don't drink, your blood gets thick and it slows down and it's really hard for your heart to pump. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. And if you're looking for a number, whatever you're drinking now, drink a little bit more. And then in a couple weeks, drink a little bit more until you get to a place where you can actually feel that hydration in your body and your brain is clear, because your brain needs water too. So those are two things that I think are super, super important and that I wish people would pay attention to in their diets and daily life.
It's interesting that you mentioned both of those, because for me, those were both areas that I was not paying attention to back in the day. And but the hydration was a big part. You know, you can't go and drink coffee all day or Coke or something like that and think you're getting hydrated, because they actually dehydrate you because of the caffeine and stuff in them. You need to put water in your body, and it needs to be a substantial amount. That I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a formula based on your weight.
Well, I don't use that because, again, that's part of a
personal
protocol,
right?
When I coach people, it's how much are you drinking now? Oh, I think I drink 2 glasses a day. And that might come out, actually, most people believe that they drink 8 glasses a day, but when they give me their food, mood, poop journal, they only drank water twice, and it probably was a 6-ounce glass, not an 8-ounce glass.
Right.
So I'll just tell you what I do. I drink 120 ounces a day. And it took me a while to get up there because I thought that's a lot. That is really a lot, but I'll just show you what I do. This is 40 ounces. So I drink 3 of these a day. And I drink my first one when I'm working out in the morning. So that's 40 ounces gone. And then there's no problem during the rest of the day. So to have a container like that, of that size, fill it with ice and water. And, you know, even if you want to put other things in it to flavor it a little bit so it's more palatable, that doesn't have sugar in it, obviously, or something that tastes like sugar. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. It's good for your skin, your brain, your kidneys. That's another area that I find as people age, if they're not drinking enough, then their kidneys actually start to shrivel.
Right.
And so what happens then? You know, like what will happen if you don't drink water is way worse than having to pee.
Sure, I agree. And I have a similar container like you just showed me, and mine's closer to 150, 160 ounces a day.
Yeah.
But I had to work my way up there because I wasn't doing that initially.
Yeah.
And so thank you so much. So value in this today, folks, is let's learn more about our blood sugar and how to balance is a key component. And hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Donna, this has been a real pleasure. So how can my audience reach out to you if they would like to talk to you about maybe being a coach for them, or to just have maybe a discovery call or something like that? What's the way for people to reach you?
Well, I do have a website, and it's www.nutritionmission.ca.
Nutritionmission.ca.
Yes.
Okay.
And through there, you can, there's a link that you can press a button to send me an email or call me. And I do a free 30-minute discovery call. And I think that gives, what that 30-minute call does is allow people to see if I'm somebody that they think they could work with. And it also allows me to see if I'm talking to someone who actually wants to work, is ready to work.
Yeah.
Because there's different times in people's lives where they're ready for things and they're not. So that 30-minute call is really important.
Gosh,
and
thank
it's
you.
completely
Thank you
free.
so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
this has been great information, Donna, and I'm glad that we ran into each other and we got to know each other more. And I hope that we become lifelong friends and help each other through our encouraging of nutrition and functional health and integrative health. And that there's many, many more ways to take care of ourselves than just waiting till the last minute when something's falling apart.
that's right.
Let's be proactive out there instead of reactive, right?
Absolutely, yes. And I'm looking forward to more conversations with you, Bob. I really enjoyed
I'm
it
sure
today.
we're going to have plenty. So I'm going to
Yeah,
sign off of our blog right now. If you would like to learn more about me and my mission to educate the public about integrative medicines and other alternative healing modalities, go to www.bobpriest.life. And while there, read a blog or two and check out my podcast, The Bob Priest Show of Life. And also, if you would like to schedule a 15-minute consultation with me, there will also be a link on my podcast for you to be able to go to. Folks, have a great day out there in the world, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. Hey everyone, thanks again for checking into today's episode. If you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, Apple, leave me a 5-star rating if you so choose, and if you enjoyed the show. I'm so grateful that you're spending some time with us and listening to our podcast. If you need to get in touch with me to learn more about my passion to inform and educate about alternative methods and modalities of healing, you can go to www.bobpriest.life. That's BOBPRIEST.life. While there, check out a blog or two and listen to other podcast sessions that I've had in the past. Guys, have a great day, and thank you so much for joining in.